Hello and welcome to the course CS 353 Grid Computing. This is the fourth lecture of Module 5, and in this lecture we are going to talk about working of grid schedulers. I have divided the working of grid schedulers into two parts. This is the part 1 of this lecture. So let's begin. Before we talk about the working of grid schedulers, let us recall the basics of grid scheduling techniques that we have already discussed in the last lecture. If you remember, to access the grid resources, we need some resource management and job scheduling systems. Let's say these are your grid resources. Then there will be several resource management and job scheduling systems like Condor, or you can say there are several of grid resource management job scheduling system like SGE, or it can be PBS, or it can be your LSF. So there are several systems are available, and above that there will be your grid middleware like Globus Toolkit, maybe it is your Globus Toolkit, and here is the user. So user will supply the job to the Globus Toolkit. Globus Toolkit will supply this job means the requirement to the resource management and job scheduling systems, and they will contact the grid resources, what are the different resources available, and they will assign those resources to this user's job. Okay, this is the fundamental idea of scheduling. And in the last class also we have discussed some of the scheduling paradigms. There are three scheduling paradigms we have discussed. One is called centralized, second one is called your distributed, and third one is called your hierarchical. So these three part we have already discussed. So I recommend all of you, those who are watching this video, please go through the previous video, then come to this place, come to watch this video, and you will be very much clear about the entire concept. So in this talk, the name of the talk is working of grid scheduler, means how the scheduler works. So let us begin with the four main stages involved in your working, that is called your resource discovery, resource selection, schedule generation, and job execution. So if you see the names, then you can easily just have an idea that how exactly the working is going on. So if you think about this one, resource discovery means we are discovering some resources, or we are searching and finding some resources that are available in the grid environment, and that is all what we are going to discuss in resource discovery part. If you think about, after you discover the resources, then you have to select some of the resources for your job, and you have to be optimal on that. You should find the resource which are exactly match with your job requirement. Then this part we are going to discuss about resource selection. After you select the resources, then you create a schedule generation, means you have to generate a schedule so that the jobs which are assigned to the resources, it should be executed flawlessly, and there should not be any overlapping, or there should not be any problem in executing the tasks, and there may be throughput may be considered over there too. So everything must be considered, and that needs a schedule, means after which job what job is going to be executed. And after generating the schedule, the job execution starts, and job execution would not have much on that, because you have already create the path for execution of that job with these three methods. So let us discuss one by one. The first method will be your resource discovery. So what is the goal of resource discovery? The goal is to identify a list of authenticated resources that are available for job submission. So as was discussed, there will be several resources available in your grid environment, and we have to, the goal of resource discovery is to finding out the authenticated resources for job submission. Okay. So in order to cope with the dynamic nature of the grid, the scheduler needs to have some way of incorporating dynamic state information about the available resources into its decision making process. So what does it mean? The meaning is, we know that the resources are created and destroyed in a grid environment several times. Okay, so you need a instant, means you need a dynamic state information, means which resources are available and which are not, because the decision will be entirely depend upon the availability of the resources. So, and we know that in a grid the resources are created and destroyed according to the need. So we need an updated information or dynamic information, so that we can easily allocate our jobs to the resources. Okay, a grid environment typically uses a pull model, a push model, or a push pull model for resource discovery. So there are three methods used by your grid environment to inquiry, or we can say inquiry about the resources which are available in the grid environment. Okay, so after you perform the resource discovery process, what is the outcome of this process? The outcome will be identify the resources available, which is represented by R available in a grid environment for job submission and execution. Okay, so we understand what is the goal of resource discovery and what is the outcome of this discovery, and what are the different methods to get this outcome. So let us discuss one by one a pull method or a pull model. So the pull model, a single daemon associated with a scheduler can query grid resources and collect state information such as CPU loads or available memories. So here a new term introduced, what is called a daemon. So a daemon is nothing but a program that runs in the background when the scheduler gets started. Okay, and it does not under the direct control of the user. Whenever you start the scheduler, automatically the daemon programs are executed. Remember, daemon is a program. It is run inside your might be inside your node, or it may be inside your scheduler. So the wherever we want, we can execute that daemon for execution of the program, and we cannot the user cannot control the working of the daemon. The daemon will automatically get started when the system run, means system gets started. Okay, so in pull model, a single daemon will be executed in the scheduler, and that daemon will collect the information about the resources available in the system, in the entire grid environment. So gathering resource information incurs relatively small communication overhead. This method requires frequent requests to gather source information, otherwise the information gets outdated. That means when you start the scheduler, the daemon program will run and it collects the resources available in your grid environment. So this path is showing the resource collection, means what are the resources available at node 1. So he will send the information to the scheduler, and this requiring the resources must be frequently done. According to the third point, it must be frequently done, because why it is frequently done? If you don't do it frequently, then maybe the information which are present in different locations may be obsolete. If some resource, let's say R1 is active at time maybe T1, and after T2 maybe R1 is not active, means the R1 resources is not available. So you need dynamic, means as the total area or the distributed area is dynamic, so anytime a resource may be available or a resource may not be available. That's why you need frequent accessing or frequent pull model. The pull model will frequently ask the information about the nodes and get ready for job submission. Okay, this is called the pull model. Second one is called the push model. So this is something the scheduler will not access the data from the nodes. The node itself runs a daemon program, and whenever a resource available, means the number of resources available in any particular node, the node itself share the information, node info, to the scheduler. Scheduler will store that state information of every node in a database that is called node states, and according to this node state, it will show you how many resources are available, how many resources are being used by some other processes or other jobs. Accordingly, when a job will come to this scheduler, the scheduler, by seeing the node state, he can allocate the jobs to these nodes, right? So let us read all these points. Each resource in the environment has a daemon for gathering local state information. The collected state information is sent to a centralized scheduler that maintains a database. So the centralized scheduler will get this info and store inside a database. The database stores the activity of each resources, means the resources which are associated with node 1 or node 2 will all the activity will be stored inside this database. If the updates are frequent, an accurate view of the system state can be maintained over time. So that means it's saying that if updation will be frequently, if the status will be shared by the nodes, then we can get a updated information. If it will be not frequent, then might be the state information which is stored inside your node state may be corrupted, or it may be not accurate according to the resource availability at node 1 or node 2. Then the last point will, frequent updates to the database are intrusive and the consume network bandwidth. So that is the disadvantage of this method. Maybe we can say that whenever if you send the frequent information on the network, then it will be the network bandwidth will be consumed accordingly. Okay, so this is all about your push model. And the final one is your push or pull model. This is something, means they are all following the both the technique in this particular technique. That means here the daemon programs are running on every nodes and the scheduler itself. So if you see in this figure, all the nodes or the central scheduler, everybody is having a daemon program, and between the scheduler and the node there will be aggregator who will aggregate the information from other nodes and store it in its local server or local database. Then again it will share those information to the scheduler, and scheduler sometimes may ask to the aggregator for the status of the information of other nodes, and the aggregator will collect this information or the status of the resources in different nodes and send those data to scheduler. So the communication will be both way. The scheduler can pull the information from their aggregator can pull the information from nodes, and sometimes node can push the status of their resources to your aggregator, and aggregator may push the information to your scheduler. So let us understand the entire process in these steps. Each resource in the environment runs a daemon that collects state information. As I have already talked about this, that every nodes or every nodes or aggregator or scheduler, everybody has a daemon program running on it. Instead of directly sending this information to a central scheduler, there exists some intermediate nodes running daemons that aggregate state information from different sub resources. So these are the sub resources, and without sending the information directly to the scheduler, the aggregator will collect the state information and store in that. The aggregator respond to the queries from the scheduler. So whenever the scheduler asks for the resources, availability of resources in different node, then the aggregator respond it through the daemon program which is running on the aggregator. A challenge of this model is to find out what information is most useful, how often it should be collected, and how long this information should be kept around. So that is the main problem in this model. That means at what information, means which at what time we should collect it, how long that information must be stored in that database. So everything will be a difficult process, and this is challenging for this particular model. Okay, so as we have discussed, as I have already told you, that we are going to discuss about four different things. One is called your resource discovery. Okay, then we are going to discuss about resource selection. So in this talk, the part 1 will consist of the talk of resource discovery and resource selection, and we have already covered the resource discovery process, that is your push model, push model and pull model, and push and pull model. So that we have already discussed. Now let us go for the resource selection part. Fine. So what happened in a resource selection part? Once the list of possible target resources is known. So how do you know this? Because in the previous section we have already discussed that we have to collect the resources by push pull or push pull models. Then after possible resources has been collected, the second phase of the scheduling process is to select those resources that best suits the constraint and condition imposed by the user, such as CPU usage, RAM available, or disk storage. That means whenever a user supply a job, he has to specify his requirement, like how much CPU speed he need, how much memory requirement must be there, how much disk storage must be there required. So every list has to be prepared by the user, and this job will be supplied to the scheduler. So the scheduler, what he will do, the scheduler will find out the resource status by the previous method. So after finding out the resource status, then now the thing is he has to select the available resources, because some resources may be allocated to some job and some resources may be available. So from the available, we have to select some of the resources. So that is called the resource selection process. So result of resource selection, what we will get in this particular step, to identify a resource list. So that means we have to select some of the resource in which all resources can meet the minimum requirement of a submitted job or job list. That means whatever requirement you have specified in your job, because this job is going to be submitted to your scheduler. So scheduler has to select some of the resources which can satisfy these requirements. So the requirements, we have already talked about this. CPU usage means what is the CPU speed, what is the RAM, how much RAM space you need, what is the disk space you need. So these are the requirements. So these requirements has to be submitted, must be satisfied by the resource selected. Okay. So in this method, you are select the R selected. The relationship between the resource available and the resource selected can be represented like this. That means R selected is a subset of your R available. Means there are several resources available, out of which you have selected some of the resources that will satisfy the job requirement. Right? That's all for the today's talk. And in the next lecture, we are going to talk about your schedule generation and job execution. And this data will be collected from the same book, that is your the Grid Core Technology. So you can go and find out the detail of this PPT from the book. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.